The story of Bilal ibn Rabah, from slavery to the call to prayer. Imagine a man whose voice would echo through history. A man born into slavery, tortured for believing in one God, dragged across the burning sands of the desert, yet never surrendered his faith. A man whose name is remembered by millions of Muslims around the world more than 14 centuries later. This is the inspiring story of Bilal ibn Rabah, one of the closest companions of Prophet Muhammad in the first Mu'min. The caller to prayer in Islam. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can discover these remarkable stories from Islamic history. Bilal ibn Rabah was born in Makkah around the year 580 CE. His father was named Rabah, and his mother was Hamama. Both were of African origin, believed to have come from Abyssinia, which is modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea. At that time, slavery was common throughout Arabia. People who were enslaved had very few rights and were often treated harshly. Bilal belonged to a powerful Quraysh leader named Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Although Bilal lived as a slave, Allah had blessed him with qualities that no chains could ever imprison. He was honest, he was trustworthy, he was patient, and deep within his heart, he longed for truth. Little did he know that his life was about to change forever. The message of Islam arrives. One day, news began spreading through Makkah. A man named Muhammad ibn Abdullah was calling people to worship only Allah. He taught that all human beings were equal before their creator, rich and poor, Arab and non-Arab, master and slave. No one was superior except through righteousness and good character. For Bilal, these words were revolutionary. In a society that judged people by their tribe, wealth, and status, Islam taught that every soul had dignity. Bilal listened carefully. The message touched his heart, and soon, he embraced Islam. He became one of the earliest Muslims. But becoming Muslim in Makkah was not easy, especially for someone who was enslaved. The torture begins. When Umayyah ibn Khalaf discovered that Bilal had accepted Islam, he was furious. How dare a slave reject the idols of Makkah? How dare he follow Muhammad? Umayyah decided to force Bilal to abandon Islam. Every day, he subjected Bilal to terrible torture. Under the blazing desert sun, Bilal was dragged outside. Umayyah then put a collar on him and dragged him. While mocking him, through the hot sand of the city, he would start whipping Bilal in public while his hands and feet were tied. He was laid upon the burning sand. Then a massive rock was placed upon his chest. The heat was unbearable. The weight was crushing. People gathered around, expecting Bilal to surrender. They demanded that he reject Islam, but Bilal refused. Instead, he repeated only two words, Ahad, Ahad, meaning one God, one Creator, one Lord worthy of worship. Again they tortured him. Again they threatened him. Again they beat him. And again Bilal answered, Ahad, Ahad. His body was weak, but his faith was stronger than the mountains around him. The torture continued for many days. One day, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq passed by and witnessed Bilal's suffering. His heart broke. Abu Bakr knew that Bilal was being persecuted only because he believed in Allah. He approached Umayyah ibn Khalaf and negotiated Bilal's freedom. After discussions, Abu Bakr paid a large amount and purchased Bilal. Then he immediately set him free. Bilal was no longer a slave. He was now a free Muslim. Some people mocked Abu Bakr for spending so much money, but Abu Bakr knew something they did not. He understood that freedom, faith, and human dignity were priceless. Bilal never forgot this act of kindness, and the Muslim community welcomed him as a beloved brother. A new brotherhood. Islam was transforming society. For the first time, people from different backgrounds stood shoulder to shoulder in prayer. Former slaves prayed beside wealthy merchants. Arabs stood beside Africans. Young people stood beside elders. No one had a special place. Everyone faced Allah equally. Bilal experienced something he had never known before: respect, brotherhood, honor. Muhammad loved Bilal deeply. He recognized his sincerity, loyalty, and unwavering faith. Bilal became one of the Prophet's closest companions. Whenever there was work to do, Bilal was ready. Whenever there was hardship, Bilal remained steadfast. The man once humiliated by society was now honored among believers. Migration to Medina. As persecution increased in Makkah, the Muslims eventually migrated to Medina. Bilal was among them. In Medina, the Muslim community finally had freedom to practice Islam openly. The Prophet established a mosque. People gathered there regularly. But there was one question: how should Muslims be called to prayer? Some suggested bells, others suggested horns. Various ideas were discussed. Then Allah guided the Muslims to a beautiful solution: the adhan, the call to prayer. And when it came time to choose someone to deliver this call, the Prophet selected Bilal. What an incredible honor! The former slave of Mecca would now become the voice of Islam. The first mueddin, Bilal climbed to a high place and called out, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar." Allah is the greatest. Because of his accent, Bilal found it difficult to recite the sh of Ashhadu I bear witness. Some laughed at him for this. Nevertheless, the Prophet showed his dissatisfaction at those who laughed and continued, encouraging Bilal to recite the adhan. Bilal had a beautiful voice, and it is said people rushed to pray when they heard the adhan. His powerful voice filled the air. The believers listened. Their hearts were moved. The words proclaimed the greatness of Allah and invited people to success through prayer. 5 times each day, Bilal's voice echoed across Medina. His adhan became beloved to the Muslims. Generations later, every adhan heard around the world traces its roots back to Bilal. What a remarkable transformation. The man once silenced by oppression now called an entire community to worship Bilal in the battles of Islam. Bilal also participated in important events and battles alongside the Prophet. One of the most significant was the Battle of Badr. At Badr, Muslims faced many of the same people who had persecuted them in Mecca. Among them was Umayyah ibn Khalaf, the very man who had tortured Bilal. History had come full circle. Earlier, Umayyah ibn Khalaf did not wish, for some reasons, to participate in this battle and had been told that Muhammad had said, "Umayyah shall be killed at the hands of Muslims." The leaders of the community felt that the absence of such an important person would certainly be harmful for their cause. While Umayyah was sitting in Masjidul Haram with some other persons, 2 men who had volunteered to fight against Muhammad came and placed a tray in a kali ruin box before him and said, "O Umayyah, now that you have declined to defend your land, wealth, and trade, and have chosen to lead a secluded life like women instead of fighting on the war front, it is only proper that you should apply collyrium to your eyes like women, and your name should be struck off the list of brave men." This taunt had such a great effect on Umayyah that he immediately collected the provisions for his journey and proceeded along with Quraysh to safeguard the caravan. As the battle got tough and out of hands of the Quraysh, Abdur Rahman bin a courageous fighter and companion of the Prophet, who also happened to be a mutual friend of Umayyah, tried to save Umayyah and his son from death in battle by taking them as prisoners, because he had a pact with Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Before migrating from Mecca to Medina, Abdur Rahman ibn Awf and Umayyah ibn Khalaf made a mutual protection pact. Abdur Rahman agreed to protect Umayyah's family and property in Medina, while Umayyah agreed to do the same for Abdur Rahman in Mecca. He could not honor his pact because Bilal spotted his former torturer and master, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, in the enemy ranks and hurried shouted, "O friends of Allah, Umayyah is one of the chiefs of unbelievers. He should not be allowed to live." The Muslims encircled Umayyah from all sides and put him and his son to death. The victory at Badr became a turning point for the Muslim community. It demonstrated that faith, courage, and trust in Allah could overcome overwhelming odds. Bilal remained loyal and steadfast throughout these challenging times. A special honor. The Prophet Muhammad greatly appreciated Bilal. The Prophet Muhammad greatly appreciated Bilal. There is a famous narration in which the Prophet told Bilal that he had heard the sound of Bilal's footsteps in paradise. Imagine hearing such words from the Messenger of Allah. Bilal's devotion to prayer and worship had elevated him to an extraordinary status. Yet despite this honor, Bilal remained humble. He never sought fame. He never boasted. He simply continued serving Allah faithfully. Then came one of the saddest moments in Islamic history. The Prophet Muhammad passed away. The entire Muslim community was overwhelmed with grief. No one felt in touch by the loss. Bilal was devastated. Every corner of Medina reminded him of the Prophet. Even calling the adhan became painful. When he reached the words, "Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah," I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, his voice would break with emotion. The memories were too powerful. Eventually, Bilal requested permission to leave Medina. Years later, Bilal returned to Medina. The people longed to hear his adhan once more. After much encouragement, he agreed. As Bilal began calling the adhan, the city fell silent. Many wept. Men, women, and children cried as memories flooded their hearts. Lessons from Bilal's story. Bilal's life teaches us many powerful lessons. Lesson 1. Faith is stronger than fear. Bilal endured unbearable suffering, yet he never abandoned his belief in Allah. His courage reminds us to stay firm in our values even during difficult times. Lesson 2. True honor comes from character. Society judged Bilal because he was a slave. Allah honored him because of his faith. A person's worth is not determined by wealth, race, or status. It is determined by righteousness and character. Lesson 3. Equality is a core teaching of Islam. Islam elevated people regardless of their background. Bilal's story demonstrates that all believers are equal before Allah. Lesson 4. Patience brings great rewards. Bilal's hardships were temporary. His reward became eternal. Those who remain patient for the sake of Allah are never forgotten. Conclusion. From the scorching sands of Mecca to the honored position of Islam's first caller to prayer, Bilal ibn Rabah's journey is one of the most inspiring stories in history. He transformed suffering into strength, oppression into dignity, and hardship into everlasting honor. Today, every time the Adhan is called somewhere in the world, we remember the legacy of Bilal ibn Rabah, a man who taught the world that faith can never be chained, a man whose voice still echoes through time. May Allah be pleased with Bilal and all the companions of the Prophet. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment below, telling us your favorite lesson from the life of Bilal ibn Rabah. Until next time.